What do you remember about the 2004 Patriots?
And the Patriots are world champions again!
After winning 2 championships in 3 seasons, the Patriots' 3rd Super Bowl win in 2004 cemented their place as the NFL's dynasty of the new millennium.
Back-to-back world championships, 3 out of 4.
Now, 20 years later, we're going back for our 3rd and final chapter to recapture how the greatest Patriots team of the 2000s came together and reigned supreme.
Yes, it's a dynasty.
This is a Patriots Super Bowl sound odyssey. Yes, it's a dynasty. Episode 1, Reloaded.
Let's go!
Since the 1960s, every decade has brought a new NFL dynasty. Vince Lombardi's Green Bay Packers won the first 2 Super Bowls following the merger of the NFL and AFL, with 3 NFL championships preceding them. The Pack was the league's first royalty.
My name is Vince Lombardi. Last year, the Green Bay Packers won an unprecedented 3rd successive world title. The Green Bay Packers have won 5 world championships in the last 8 years. Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
In the 1970s, the Steelers won 4 titles in 6 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, Super Bowl 14 is history. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the champions of the National Football League for the 2nd straight year.
Followed by the San Francisco 49ers' 5 Super Bowl wins that spanned from 1981 to 1994, adding 2 more teams to the historical ledger. The Cowboys were America's team in the 1990s, with 3 Super Bowl wins in 4 seasons.
Just been announced to the crowd and to us that Montana is the unanimous Super Bowl MVP for the 3rd time, and that's another record.
Adding 2 more teams to the historical ledger. The Cowboys were America's team in the 1990s, with 3 Super Bowl wins in 4 seasons.
Vince Lombardi trophy going to the winning Dallas Cowboys, who have now equaled the 5-1 by the San Francisco 49ers. And, of course, those 2 teams battling throughout the course of the year for that supreme position and regarded as the 2 best in the NFL.
At the turn of the century, few thought the New England Patriots were headed to dynasty status after upsetting the St. Louis Rams as underdogs in Super Bowl 36.
We are the champions! We are the champions!
Especially when the Pats missed the playoffs altogether in 2002. But in 2003, the Patriots bounced back with their 2nd title in 3 seasons.
This team's met all comers this year, 15 straight, and there have been some heart attacks, but they've come out on top. They deserve all the credit in the world. These guys are champions.
Raising the question, was there something special happening in New England?
2 Super Bowl championships in 3 years for the Patriots. And they are now the dominant team in the NFL of the brand new century. 2 Super Bowls this century.
As the 2004 season opened, the Patriots had a chance to win 3 out of 4 and officially secure their place as the new dynasty of the 2000s.
The New England Patriots, when you consider this team, think about dynasties in sports. And the definition has changed through the years. But if you can win 3 out of 4, 3 Super Bowls in 4 seasons, that's a dynasty.
Led by head coach Bill Belichick and quarterback Tom Brady, the Patriots franchise had transformed themselves from one that bottomed out in the early 90s into the league's juggernaut that routinely knocked off league MVPs and higher seeds with sound and timely football.
And Bill Belichick and his staff coming up with a brilliant defensive game plan.
The first championship was a Cinderella run, with an unheralded second-year quarterback leading a remade squad to an unlikely upset championship.
Kick is on the way, and it is good! It's good! It's good! Adam Vinatieri booms a 48-yard field goal, and the game is over, and the Patriots are Super Bowl champions!
The second was proof of concept, as New England bounced back from a 9-7 season and turned around a sputtering 2-2 start and never lost again.
They haven't lost a game since the 4th week of the 2003 season.
In 2004, it would all come together. With the lessons from 2002's down year still fresh in their minds, Director of Player Personnel Scott Pioli and head coach Bill Belichick quickly reset their outlook for another championship run that would secure the Patriots' place among the league's historical dynasties. Scott Pioli, Patriots Director of Player Personnel.
I think the outlook overall was optimistic, but the fact that we had won the Super Bowl, with the 0-1 regular season, after the 0-1 regular season, and then didn't even make it to the playoffs the year before, we had a greater and better understanding of how fragile the whole thing is, and that one season truly, it was part of it was something that we said that outside people didn't understand, is that one season has nothing to do with the next. And we understood that fully. We also knew that the Super Bowl we won after the 2003 season, we had been fortunate because we had a lot of injuries. As a matter of fact, that year in 2003, we set an NFL record for the most number of starts lost by players, by starters, for a team that made the playoffs, let alone won the Super Bowl. So we felt good about our football team. We felt good about, our draft, because what had happened by this is now season 4 of the program. So we now had young players that we had acquired and had started to develop within our system. So we felt good about the team, the talent, the player development, but we also knew, that it was fragile, and one season had nothing to do with the next, because, again, win that first Super Bowl, then you have a stinker the next year, that could always happen again.
Matt Patricia, offensive assistant.
Yeah, I remember in the first staff meeting, one of the first staff meetings I was in, right after they got back, and they had just beaten Carolina, and we're sitting down in the staff meeting, everybody's in there, and I just remember Coach walking in and he kind of looked around, looked at me, and he was, in his fashion, just basically told everybody, he's like, put all that Super Bowl stuff away. I don't want to see any of it. We're behind. We got to go. The season's already started. And you can just, obviously I wasn't there for the Carolina Super Bowl, but I was there as they were getting ready to go and win and do all that stuff. But I just remember looking at everybody and they were kind of like, okay, all right, so celebration's over. Okay, good, great. Okay, next season, but you could just see like there was a clear message of, it's great, but we got to go. So I'm in the meetings with Charlie and obviously Dante Scarnecchia, who I was working with really closely with the offensive line, and we were just instantly going into next year.
Deion Branch, Louisville. You would have thought that, coach is going to kind of like take it a little easy on guys. Now that, we completed that task, it's behind us. The first meeting we had, Bill gave it to us, and you just sitting there thinking like, bro, we just won the Super Bowl like last week. And he's already in here in our face. Hey, it's over with.
It was, fellas, the season starts now.
You get what I'm saying? Like, guys don't understand that. Hey, it's time to move on. Everybody outside this building can celebrate. It's time for us to figure out what team, that 03 team is behind us. That's a totally different team. Who are you guys going to be?
We haven't done anything. If you want to be a champion, you got to win from here out.
This stuff is nonstop. There's no off days. There's no off season, none of that. When you win the Super Bowl, you only have, 2 weeks, so what's the point of taking 14 days? We were right back at it because we knew what we wanted to achieve the next year. 364 days ago, we was right here. Here's this opportunity for us to go out here and seize the moment, and we did it.
Nick Fitzy Stevens, Patriots fan and personality.
There was this odd feeling that we didn't belong or didn't deserve the luxury of riches that the New England Patriots were bringing us now that they had won 2 Super Bowls in 3 seasons. Like, wait a second. Do we belong? Like, wait, I've gotten into this club twice now. Like, I keep sneaking by the bouncer. I don't think I belong here. Like, the Pats are legitimately good. Anything that could have been flukish about the 2001 season and then missing the playoffs in 2002 was immediately wiped away by the 2003 season and the run that team went on. And to see them not only get ready to carry on the excellence that they executed in 2003, culminating in one of the most thrilling Super Bowls of all time, by not only bringing back the same team, but also improving it, looking like an absolute juggernaut, and the subsequent winning streak this team was to go on, we as a fan base weren't yet the spoiled, entitled, obnoxious, like Pats fans that everyone grew to hate in the latter part of the decade and throughout the double dynastic run. But there was a whiff. There was a whiff of obnoxiousness in the air, and I got to say, by and large, all of us embraced it.
Unlike 2001, a heavy influx of veteran free agents was not needed. The team's core, as well as a collection of developing draft picks, ensured plenty of continuity heading into 2004. There was to be but one crown jewel of free agency who would arrive in a pre-draft trade, a hard-charging yet disgruntled running back from Cincinnati that was looking for a fresh start, Corey Dillon.
Another big move is shaking things up for this weekend. The Bengals have traded disgruntled running back Corey Dillon to the Patriots for a second-round pick this weekend.
The acquisition of the 7-year veteran with 6 seasons of over 1,100 rushing yards began to come together in the weeks leading up to the draft.
Scott Pioli, Patriots Director of Player Personnel.
Bill had a good relationship with the Brown family at the Bengals, and that had come up, and Corey was looking for a way out. Corey was represented at the time by an agent by the name of Steve Feldman. And there were a number of conversations back and forth with Feldy and myself, and the Bengals gave us permission to meet with Corey. Because, one of our things was we knew Corey the player, and unless you live with a player, you don't know. And Corey had a reputation, which I would say immediately was completely unfair and untrue, unfounded, whatever we want to call that. But you don't know those things until you live with someone. And so what happened was the Bengals gave us permission. And this is a great story because in our way of wanting, we didn't want people to know what we were possibly doing. We need to keep family business. So Bill and I got in my car and we drove down to the Rocky Hill Residence Inn in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. And Feldman and Corey flew into Hartford, and they met us, and we met we rented out a room and met in a Rocky Hill Residence Inn, just the four of us. What we found out in that situation, and I think something that was really important to our organization at the time, is we understood talent, we understood players, but we also knew that our culture, our program was what it was, and we wanted to make sure that players knew what we were. There was a very emotional moment by Corey about him wanting to get out of Cincinnati, and it was this moment where he got extremely emotional, and in a very positive way, and let us know how much he wanted to win or have a chance at winning.
Well, here's what Dillon has to say about that move.
I'm not a bad person. I'm just a competitor, and I love to compete and win. And it just wasn't getting done there. So, there's a lot of stuff, back and forth that was done in Cincinnati that I left in Cincinnati.
He just felt like he was at this place where he, wasn't respected, and he'd gotten to the point where all he wanted to do was win. He didn't care about money. He didn't care about his role. He wanted to be the guy. And I remember, they had to have a moment to talk, and Bill and I talked, and we were like, this guy's all in. He knows the drill, and he's going to be one of us. And it was an incredible, to me, it was one of those moments, it encapsulated all of what we stood for organizationally, right? And what we were trying to do and how we were trying to do it, to make sure that we were getting not only good players, but good players that fit how we were going to be. And we wanted to be a certain way unapologetically and run the program.
Corey Dillon, University of Washington. I'm thinking like worst case scenario type things. So I'm thinking like, man, I may have to sit out a year or whatever. I think the Raiders was real serious about bringing me in, and that was my first option, and that's what I was thinking. Like, man, I might be going to Oakland. So to actually get the call from my agent was like, and he told me like this, he was just like, pack a bag, we're going to Boston. So actually coming down here and meeting with Bill and Scott Pioli, man, we had a great conversation. And it was simple, man. It didn't take that long.
Bengals all-time leading rusher, now a Patriot, Marvin Lewis, now rid of his biggest thorn with the NFL draft 5 days away. And in that draft, the Bengals now have 5 picks on day one, including the Patriots second rounder. That's number 56 overall. That's what they get for the disgruntled Dillon, who tossed his uniform into the stands, cleaned out his locker after last season's finale against the Browns. Bottom line, this deal makes a ton of sense for the Bengals, for the Pats, and for Dillon.
Ivan Fears, running backs coach.
It was a doggone Saturday morning. We were off. It was the off season. And Bill calls me at home. He says, do you have time to come in and meet someone? And I said, well, yeah. I said, well, who? He said, we're talking to Corey Dillon. I said, oh, my gosh. I actually said something else, but I ain't going to say it on the radio. But it was like, yeah, you kidding? Yeah. So I came in and had a conversation with Bill about him, and then Corey had finished his round in the building, and I finally got him. We sat down and talked, and it just sort of hit me. I said to him, I said, you know, you're a big acquisition for us. So your success, whatever you're going to be, it's going to reflect on me, and it's going to be, you know, what's going to happen to me. So, you know, we got to come to an agreement here on what this is all going to be. He said, Coach, I think you've been listening too much to the, you know, all the hoopla about me and stuff. He said, I'm not like that. I said, well, yeah, you're right. There's a whole lot of shit about you out there. So he said, I'm not like that at all. He said, you're not going to have any problems with me, not one bit. I said, I hope you understand if I'm a little bit worried about that. You know, so, and we talked for a few minutes, and he was fantastic. And in the whole freaking time he was with me, I never had to worry about that son. He was where he was supposed to be. He played his ass off. He practiced his ass off. I mean, everybody has their demons and stuff, you know, off the field or something. He wasn't like that when he walked in the building. When he walked in the building, he was a true professional.
Think Corey Dillon is going to fit in well with the Patriots team? That's really no-name players other than the Tom Brady's.
I certainly do. Corey Dillon is a playmaker. He's a guy that wants a team. He's a guy that played a lot of last year injured and very unhappy. He's very eager to get on the team and really prove the type of player he has always been the last 7 years.
I mean, we're a big running team. It sort of fit right into who he was. And Corey was huge. I mean, you know, 240, supposed to have been 238, but he was, you know, close to 240, 45. He was a monster as a runner and excellent. Oh my gosh. You talking about can see vision as a runner? He had that great vision.
Do you think that he and Belichick can coexist?
Absolutely. Corey Dillon will flourish in New England. He is a guy, he is a winner. He's going to a winner. He won it out of Cincinnati. Now he can go to a team where he already respects the coach, respects the players, and he knows that they can win without him. So he wants to step in and let them know that he can play and he can add to what they're already doing.
Corey Dillon, University of Washington. Ah, man, that was a lot of anxiety, to be honest with you, because you don't know what to expect. They already got something in place and they're rolling, and then you got this notion of like what they really need me for. They just won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So I think some people think it's easy to be traded to a Super Bowl champion. Man, there's more pressure on you to make your mark and to contribute to that team. So I mean, I embraced that situation as well. I just wanted to come in and, you know what, do my part. And for the most part, man, my teammates were great. They accepted me. The organization accepted me. Bill let me do my thing, man, so it kind of worked out.
Nick Fitzy-Stevens, Patriots fan and personality.
Patriots fans had yet to become accustomed to the idea of somebody else was really good somewhere, but they had played their time out, so they should come to New England, chase a ring, and reestablish their greatness. I guess we got our first feeling of what it was like to see someone play it out elsewhere, then come to New England and be awesome with 2003's acquisition of Rodney Harrison. But 2004, bringing in Corey Dillon was next level. Like that, we could get the Patriots. Antoine Smith was sneaky good for a couple of years and a kind of an unheralded member of the first couple of Super Bowl teams for the Patriots. But getting Corey Dillon, like a legitimate fantasy stud, an A1 back like that, I think Patriots fans couldn't believe that we could get someone like that.
How is Dillon's arrival going to affect the Patriots draft?
You know, Kara, I spoke with several NFL executives on my drive over here today, and the prevailing opinion was the rich get richer.
With Dillon officially in the fold, 5 days later, the Patriots looked to the draft to continue the quality pipeline that had been established since Belichick and Pioli arrived. Following the departure of monstrous nose tackle Ted Washington, the team had a literal big need in the middle of their defense, one that had already been partially filled by a veteran free agent named Keith Traylor. Their eyes were on Miami Hurricanes defensive lineman Vince Wilfork, with the assumption that Wilfork was unlikely to last until the Patriots' first pick at 21st overall, acquired a year before in a trade with the Ravens, who moved up to grab quarterback Kyle Bowler.
The only team with 2 first-round picks happened to be the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. This involved with the Kyle Bowler orchestrations last year. So this is the pick that was originally owned by the Baltimore Ravens.
Current Senior Bowl executive director Jim Nagy was a second-year scout with the Patriots at the time, getting a crash course in the Belichick style of scouting.
Jim Nagy, Executive Director of the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I was a really young scout. Going into my second year, I spent 1 year in Washington before I got to the Patriots. And it was a great group. We were young. It was really a really young staff, led by Scout Pioli. He put together a really good group. A lot of those guys went on to become general managers and assistant general managers and had great long careers. Some of us are still having great careers in the NFL. But you bring up the word rigorous. It was rigorous. It was not an easy scouting system at all. It was, in terms of the report writing, it was more thorough than any other system I'd been in. In the next 15, 20 years of working in the league, there was nothing that really matched that. There was a lot of observational learning that went on in New England, and really one of the greatest takeaways I had from working for that era of Patriot teams was just the makeup of the group, right? The group dynamics. Talking about that 2004 team in particular, was just the maturity of that group. You obviously had a bullseye on your back coming off a Super Bowl win and to go back to back, but just the maturity of that veteran group. The Teddy Bruschi's, the Ted Johnsons, the Willie McGinnis. All those guys. It was just a very mature football team. The old guard did a really good job of bringing those young guys along, and then give credit to the coaching staff for playing those young players. A lot of coaches in the NFL don't like to play young guys and let them live with take their lumps and live with them through the growing pains. And I think that team, that coaching staff did a really good job of that.
And I think right now, has the board fallen properly for the Patriots? Is the right guy there?
Pioli, Nagy, and the scouting staff held their collective breath as the draft began, knowing how important Wilfork would be to the defense if they could somehow land him.
The nose tackle position, that everything revolves around that position, that defense. What Coach Cornell, how we two-gap that front. You needed to have a big space eater that could take up blocks and kind of build a wall up front. And so losing Ted Washington, we needed to find that guy. And really Vince Wilfork was that guy in that draft. So sometimes you just get lucky on draft weekend. Sometimes it takes a little bit of luck. Even right now, I text my friends who are GMs around the league on draft weekend. The one thing I say is I hope it falls your way. Sometimes, you get to draft week and things just have to fall right. And thank God for the New England Patriots. A bunch of teams passed on Vince Wilfork, and, now he went on to have a Hall of Fame type career.
Scott Pioli, Patriots Director of Player Personnel.
Part of what you do is you model out who you think is going to be there, but you never know what other teams are going to do. That's the beauty of the draft. And we had evaluated Vince and spent a lot of time on him, kind of with the belief that it was more than likely he wasn't going to be available. But what we did know is he had the physical build, the skills, the tools that we knew could not only play in our system, but thrive in our system.
Listen, they did lose Ted Washington.
Yes. Big run
and we are looking at Vince Wilfork, the University of Miami defensive tackle, who's a 340-pound type guy. He would seem to fit beautifully here.
He played a lot of one gap. He was so quick, explosive. But he has, still to this day, I don't know if you've ever shaken hands with Vince Wilfork. Even when he goes gentle handshake, it's literally like putting your hands in a vice, and he doesn't even squeeze. Because of his width, you don't always understand. He does have a little bit of height. He's not a really tall guy, but the size of his hands and the length of his arms are not necessarily proportional to how tall he is. And those things, big hands, strong hands, and long arms are really incredible tools and body makeup types to have for defensive line. We were pretty certain that, once it started to look like he was going to be in range, we were like, holy cow, this might be a real thing. And when he was there was full support.
The last Miami Hurricane of the six is Vince Wilfork, still on the board. This kid is an athletically gifted 328-pounder, Chris, a heck of a talent.
Vince Wilfork, Miami Hurricane.
I was pissed, and I remember, my father died of diabetes, so I wanted to do something to give back to diabetes. And it was just me, my family, and a couple friends. And it was probably like 30 of us, and we raised like $6,000 that day. And I was sitting there, and I knew we had 6 first rounders. I knew we had that. I was like, well, I know I'm not going to be the last one. I'm not going to be the last Hurricane, right?
As part of a juggernaut Hurricanes team, Wilfork watched as teammate after teammate was selected. Sean Taylor at 5th overall, Kellen Winslow right after him at 6th. Jonathan Vilma went to the Jets at 12, then DJ Williams at 17. Vernon Carey went to the Dolphins to make it 5 first-round Hurricanes to go before Wilfork.
The Miami Hurricanes with 19 first-round picks, as Mel mentioned, in the last 4 years. This is a new record for Miami.
The 21st pick arrived, and Wilfork was still on the board.
With the 21st pick in the 2004 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Vince Wilfork, defensive lineman, University of Miami.
So here comes New England, right? Boom, they pick me. So I said, okay, I'm still pissed. First round, I'm pissed. And I remember my defensive coordinator at the time, Randy Shannon. He came to me. He said, listen. No, he called me. He said, Vince, listen. I know you pissed off and you're upset, but you're going to be the first one to get a ring. Watch. I said, man, I don't want to hear that. I'm pissed off. So I finally let it go. And throughout my career, I said, well, I'm going to show you I'm the best one of these Hurricanes that got drafted that year.
The rich get richer. That's what it is. The rich get richer.
Who's done the drafts better than them lately?
Of course, the draft didn't end with Wilfork, as the Pats double-dipped in the first round with tight end Benjamin Watson at 32nd overall and added another collection of rookies who would make contributions. When training camp arrived in July, the Patriots were primed for another Super Bowl run, even if they didn't overtly acknowledge it themselves. Ernie Adams, Director of Football Research.
I think we tried to do a good job of just, hey, it's a new season. Nobody's going to come in here and want to look at our scrapbooks. They're going to come in here wanting to knock our heads off. We understand it's the National Football League, and it is a new season, so we have to. Every season is a unique challenge.
The Patriots had built a veteran defense that was in its prime. Coming off a 2003 season in which they ranked first in the NFL in points, this group had game-changing talent on all 3 levels. The only question was how good this defense could be. Matt Patricia, offensive assistant.
Those guys were so competitive. It was a room full of alphas. I mean, every single one of them. So, I would walk in the linebacker room, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to be coaching football or fighting. Like, I was like, okay, well, maybe we might be fighting today. I have no idea what's going to happen. You would literally walk in and, Willie McGinnis would walk by Izzo and he'd just walk by and be like, yep, you're dry. I got the edge on you today. And they were talking about hydration, and so now Larry's in the back of the room chugging waters. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, he's not going to be more hydrated than I am. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is what we're, Brood walk in with a book. They didn't carry their playbooks because they knew the playbook. He'd walk in with a regular book and he'd be like, what are you doing? He's like, I read 2 books last night, just trying to edge. It was like, you guys are insane. Like, you're insane. But competitive, worked hard. When we brought everybody back for OTAs and we still had that first practice, I just remember the noise of the defense, the communication, but it was just it was so loud, so clean, so clear, so just like locked in focus. It just sounded like a machine, and you were like, wow, like these guys are unreal. And I remember, with Vrabes too, the one thing that was amazing to me about Mike Vrabel, you're in college football world, and every year it was like, hey, we got to get to training camp to get in shape. I just felt with these guys, like you could have called them any month. You could have called them in April, and they would have been able to play a 3-hour football game at the highest level. They were always in shape. Mike Vrabel was he was never out of shape. It was just amazing to me, the level of professionalism that these guys held each other to and they held themselves to.
Corey Dillon made an immediate impression on his teammates and coaches, both on the field and off it. Ivan Fears, running backs coach.
When you watch him, I was always amazed at how talented he really was. You knew he was at Cincinnati.
Corey Dillon left Cincinnati with a team record 8,000 rushing yards, a total which would have also smashed the Patriots franchise rushing record. Dillon has 4 career 1,200-yard seasons, which no Patriot has accomplished since Curtis Martin in 1995.
But now you're seeing it firsthand. That was I already said that was the best I'll see. That was the best I'll ever see. That was fantastic, unbelievably fantastic. Then it became, okay, I got to get this butt in shape, but I can't overuse them. And that became the whole focal point. Get them in shape, get them ready to play, but also save them because it's going to be a long season.
Teddy Bruschi, Arizona.
I don't know how many times I played against him prior to that, but you see him watching film, and I always thought he was one of the best in the business out there in terms of a running back that had size and speed. I mean, he was just such a tough-nosed runner that was in a bad place that really frustrated him. And it was amazing that when you bring those players into a place where they have leaders that are able to just, they can see. I mean, it's not like really I ever took Corey aside and said, hey, CD, I mean, this is the way it is here. No, it was just watch us, man. Just watch the way we work and the things that we care about, because you can figure out pretty quickly about players and what's important to them and how they talk in the locker room, how they treat practice, how they treat meeting rooms. Are they joking around? Are they talking about where they're going at night? It never was much of that here, and players could always see that, and they could figure out quickly what we were about.
Deion Branch, Louisville. The crazy part about it is the perspective on Corey, could have been so far from being wrong. This guy just wanted to win some games. That's all he wanted to do. This guy was a workhorse. He actually, I don't know, he was like a kid in a kid factory, coming to New England and just seeing how it is. Yeah, over here we work hard, but you're going to reap the benefits later. You follow me? It's going to pay off in the end. This guy didn't say one word throughout the whole year, but he enjoyed the run that we had.
Corey Dillon, University of Washington.
So, I mean, just breaking the ice and getting to know these guys, and I mean, just coming here during training camp and us joking around and getting familiar with each other, we kind of, everybody was just like, oh, okay. So some of the things I hear ain't what they are. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure coming in, due to the fact that how I left Cincinnati, they were like, can we trust him? Is he going to be able to fit in with us? Can he do, just things like that of that nature. And just coming in and they seeing my personality, that like I'm just like them, I think kind of broke the ice, and we started gelling, and they let me do my thing.
Paul Perillo, Patriots Football Weekly.
You would sort of look at it and say, well, maybe that can be a great move, but he's a guy who's been in trouble. His desire and professionalism has been called into question. We'll see how that goes. That kind of got eliminated in training camp. You could sort of see what this guy could provide for the offense. And you know how they wanted to play and how they had played in 01 with Antoine Smith. Corey Dillon was a Maserati compared to Antoine Smith, who's a good player. I mean, no disrespect to Antoine Smith, good, solid NFL player. Corey Dillon, at his best, was one of the best running backs in football. And certainly in 2004, he was at his best. I think he transformed the offense a little bit, gave him a little bit of a power, speed combo, big plays, and the tough yards.
Dillon trying to go to the left, cuts it across the line of scrimmage, bangs it on his feet, down to the 30-yard line goes Corey Dillon.
On the defensive side of the ball, a familiar face appeared in a new place during camp, with wide receiver Troy Brown suddenly taking reps at cornerback, a move that would prove prescient later in the season.
I don't think it was the way we cover it now, with every detail being blogged and tweeted and documented the way we do now, but we all did say, oh, that's kind of strange. Troy Brown's playing some defense. We all talked about it. Yeah, that's cute. I wonder what that will mean. Obviously, we found out that, much like a lot of things Bill Belichick did ahead of time, they wound up being important when they needed it during the course of the season.
Troy Brown, Marshall University.
At first, I didn't know how to take it. It was Eric Mangini that came. I was sitting in front of my locker, minding my own business, getting ready for a training camp practice. And he comes in with this little highlights of this is cover 2, you got cover 3, whatever it is, and you playing defense today. You doing one-on-ones and all this stuff. So, and I'm like, looked at him like, seriously? He was like, yeah, seriously. And I was just like, all right, then I'll give you the best that I got. I mean, we had at that time, it was later in my career. We had good receivers on the team. We had David Givens, we had Deion Branch. Yeah. I think David Patton was still here.
Patton was there, yep.
So we had Bethel Johnson was here. So we had some talent on the football team that would allow to give us some flexibility to go over and play on that side of that ball, just at least for practice anyway. So
meanwhile, the rookie Wilfork and his fellow nose tackle Keith Traylor got a crash course in the two-gapping style of defense.
Vince Wilfork, Miami Hurricane.
My mindset was I need to be on the field, and it really wasn't, I was upset I didn't start, because in college, only year I started was my last year there. I played behind 2 defensive tackles in college my first and second year, but my playing time, I played more than them. So that really didn't bother me. And I knew Keith Treller was an older guy coming in, and he never really played in this defense, so it was new to him too, and he was an older guy, and me and Keith had a great relationship. We learned off each other because every time I had to do something, even though I was a rookie, he had to do it because we both had to learn how to be a nose tackle. Because think about it, we were trying to replace the great Ted Washington at that position.
Right.
So, and also in my mind was like, okay, New England Patriots just won a Super Bowl and they picked me first rounder. I can't let them down. So all that drove me, and I know how I work and the work I put in with study and stuff. It wasn't going to be a problem for me to hit the field and start making plays. I just needed to understand the system I was in.
Players like Wilfork, because they go to a program where the pros teach them how to be pros. This is how we work. In New England, they will teach him how to become a professional football player.
No longer the surprising Bledsoe backup, Tom Brady had fully ascended to one of the most deadly quarterbacks in the NFL. One who not only set the standard, but held his teammates to the same standard.
Hey, we gotta be perfect, all right?
Corey Dillon, University of Washington.
Man, just being that ultimate competitor. I could see that. I knew it. Just how he prepares. He was always first in, last out. And the way he gathered all of us. There's not one player in that locker room that wouldn't run through a brick wall for Tom Brady. And that's what it's about. He controlled. He had that control over the team where, hey man, when he gets going, when headbutting people and screaming, let's go, man, it's exciting for your quarterback to see your quarterback to express those kind of emotions and energy, man. It fires everybody up. So ultimate leader, ultimate competitor. And I seen it then. I knew he was going to be great. So, and he proved it. So easily he proved it.
Gotta play tougher, harder, tougher, everything.
Matt Patricia, offensive assistant.
Tom Brady is, there's not enough good words in the English language, I think, to describe him, right? I mean, he's just unbelievable. And being with him for as long as I was, and being on offense to be with him every day was incredible, and then switch to the other side and compete against him every day was even more amazing. But really, from the start, he's just the best guy ever. But even more so, what I thought was amazing is we'd be out of practice on Fridays. I'm a young coach. We're getting ready to go, obviously play the opponent that week, and he'd be like, "Hey, Matty," he's like, "Can you make sure you give me all the advanced stuff for next week? Because as soon as the game's over, I want to start working on Pittsburgh, and I want to make sure I have this." He goes, "What do you think?" And I would give him the breakdown. Like I would give him the breakdown every Friday, and he would take it and he would go, and then that's how he started his prep. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I got to make sure my stuff is good because I got to make sure he's, you felt he gave you that empowerment of making you feel like, hey, what you're doing is really important right now, and I need that. Can you help me? Now look, whether what I was giving him, I don't know, 25 years ago was any good or not good, but he always asked for it and always wanted it.
Brushing aside a 1-3 preseason that was capped off with a 31-0 loss to the Jaguars at home, the Patriots were ready for another title run. Aware of the stakes, but without a focus on defending a championship. Instead, going out and earning it anew.
Deion Branch, Louisville.
Yeah, well, the motto was that. Let's go out and do something that hasn't been done in a long time. That was our motto. We already see what it looks like when we do everything the right way. When we carry out all these assignments, when we come in here and we commit and dedicate ourselves to this, we know exactly what this looked like. We just did it. Let's mimic this same exact thing, bring in some more players, and do the exact same thing. And that's what happened. And then you start adding these other guys to the program, and now everything changes. You get what I'm saying? That competitive edge, that we always talking about, the dedication factor, guys holding each other accountable. That was really the most important piece that going into 2004. The veteran guys on the team really holding everybody accountable for everything. You miss you miss this. First of all, everybody was 100% in the offseason program. But if we see guys over here slacking in this during our run drills, passing drills, if you see that, guys calling players out. And that's what you need to actually when you want to have that championship type team and that motto, that's what you got to actually embody.
Scott Pioli, Patriots Director of Player Personnel.
We never had to fight over confidence. Now did the truth be told, when you're winning a bunch, you start to smell yourself a little bit, but we were never a group or individuals that would get overconfident. Did we think we had a good team? Did we think we had good talent? Yeah, but we knew that the Colts were pretty darn good. We knew that there were other good teams, and we also, again, the year before had proven there's a lot that can go wrong between September and the end of December, let alone what happens in January, right? Really, truly, one of the things that you learn when you're in this business, particularly when you're coaching, but especially in personnel, an NFL season is an unbelievable exercise, not only in mental and emotional endurance, but truly in attrition. And, so yeah, we thought we had some talent. We thought we had a good team. We thought we had, our quarterback was developing and David Givens was developing. Dion was, we had players. So we had Corey Dillon, but you never know how that stuff's going to work out. Plus, on top of all of what I just said, this is a chemistry experiment too. How is that group of talent going to gel and function together?
Next time, the Patriots take a win streak into the regular season and prove themselves to be a team that could win games however necessary, putting their names in the record books before the postseason even arrived. Join us on this Patriots Super Bowl Sound Odyssey. Yes, it's a dynasty.